Good afternoon to one and all. Here already we complete the first unit in this subject MAD, mobile application development. Next unit, start the next unit here. What is the syllabus of the next unit is, this is the syllabus basic widgets. Here in this basic widgets we have, these are the topics. You have to learn these topics. Here understanding the role of Android application components. Next one, understanding the utility of Android API, means application programming interface. Next, overview of the Android project files. Next one, understanding activities. Next, role of the Android manifest file. Next, creating the user interface. Next, commonly used layouts and controls. Next one, event handling, displaying messages through toast, creating and starting an activity. Next, using the edit text control. And next, how to choosing options with checkbox and choosing mutually exclusive items using radio buttons. These are the topics you have to learn in the second unit. Here, next, what is meant by the widget? Here in this, what is meant by widget means, here a widget, it is a small gadget or control of your Android application. It is placed on the home screen. Next, widgets allow to put our favorite applications on our home screen in order to quickly access them. Here some common widgets such as music widget, weather, clock, like this, etc. In this way, these are the widgets. We have to phone. చూడండి మీరు అందరు ఫోన్ యూస్ చేస్తారు, మొబైల్ యూస్ చేస్తారు. మొబైల్లో మీకు విడ్జెట్స్ అనేవి ఉంటాయి, ఓకేనా. హియర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఏ స్మాల్ గ్యాడ్జెట్ ఆర్ స్మాల్ కంట్రోల్ ఆఫ్ అవర్ ఆండ్రాయిడ్ అప్లికేషన్. ఇట్ ఈస్ బేస్డ్ ఆన్ ది హోమ్ స్క్రీన్ మీద బేస్ అయి ఉంటుంది. నెక్స్ట్, it allow to put our favorite applications on our home screen, in order to quickly access them. అంటే క్విక్గా మనం యాక్సెస్ చేసుకోవడానికి హోమ్ స్క్రీన్లో మన ఫేవరెట్ అప్లికేషన్స్ మాత్రమే మనం అలౌ చేస్తామమ్మా. హియర్ సమ్ కామన్ విడ్జెట్స్, మ్యూజిక్ విడ్జెట్ ఉంటుంది, వెదర్, నెక్స్ట్ క్లాక్ విడ్జెట్, ఎక్సెట్రా, ఓకేనా. నెక్స్ట్, దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ హియర్ విడ్జెట్. నెక్స్ట్, how to use the widgets. Here you have to select widget under the, here you have to select widget under the add to home menu. You have to select widget under the add to home menu. You have to choose a widget that you would like to install. How to choose a widget that you would like to install. నా widget మనం ఏది కావాలంటే అది చూస్ చేసుకొని how to ఇన్స్టాల్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. నెక్స్ట్, మ్యూట్ చేసుకోండి. నెక్స్ట్, this is how to select the, how to use widgets on Android. How to select the widget under the add to home menu. Next, how to choose a widget that you would like to install, means you need to install, is there any application, how to, in order to gain access, it is associated within widget or not. Here this is the how to use widgets on Android. This called widget is a small gadget or small control of our Android application. It is placed on the home screen, that is called the widgets here. Next, this is the widgets. చూడండి ఇక్కడ widgets in Android. ఫోన్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా, ఆండ్రాయిడ్ ఫోన్స్లో these are the widgets here. హోమ్ స్క్రీన్ మీద మనకి ఈ అప్లికేషన్స్ అంటే ఈజీగా మనం అది ఓపెన్ చేయగానే మనకు దాంట్లో ఏమైనా కాంటాక్ట్స్ ఉన్నాయనుకోండి, కాంటాక్ట్స్ విడ్జెట్ ఇది. ఈ హోమ్ స్క్రీన్ మీద మనకి ఏమైతే అప్లికేషన్స్ కావాల్సి వస్తాయో అవన్నీ మాత్రం సేవ్ చేసుకుంటాం. హియర్ ఈ ఫేవరెట్, చూడండి ఇవి కాంటాక్ట్స్ ఓపెన్ చేయగానే ఈజీగా మనం కాంటాక్ట్స్ ఏమున్నాయి అవి యూస్ చేసుకుంటాం. నెక్స్ట్ ఓకేనా, దీస్ ఆర్ ది బేసిక్ విడ్జెట్స్ హియర్. దీస్ ఆర్ ది విడ్జెట్స్ ఇన్ ఆండ్రాయిడ్ ఫోన్. ఓకేనా, నెక్స్ట్ in this unit, first topic is understanding the role of Android application components. Understanding the role of Android application components. Here in this all popular applications are interactive. Here all popular applications are interactive. Here these applications interact with the user. Here what is the topic means, you have to understanding the role of Android application components. The role of Android application components, what is the role by using the application components in Android, you have to understand. It is a topic here. Here these application means here all popular applications are interactive. These are all popular applications are interactive, but these applications interact with the user. These applications interact with the user and depending on the data supplied by the user, and depending on the data supplied by the user and desired actions under processing are performed. Here the user interface controls play a major role in getting feedback from the user. Here these applications interact with the user and it is depend on the data supplied by the user. These are the desired actions and it is processing are performed. Here in this user interface controls play a major role in getting the feedback from the user. Next, these application components are when combined together means it is when combined together it is a brilliant Android application. In this brilliant Android application means here this information regarding all the application components is provided one of the manifest file, that is the Android manifest.xml language. Provide a manifest file means this information regarding all the application components is provided in this file. That file is called the manifest file. This file is called the manifest file, that is here Android manifest.xml. Android manifest.xml. Here this file help the understanding the use of each and every application component and how do they interact with each other. In Android provides 4 important components to build any Android application. Android application develop cheyadaniki Android అనేది 4 important components provide చేస్తున్నాము. Here ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే these applications interact with the user. What are the applications here? Applications అంటే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ కాంటాక్ట్స్ అనేది, నెక్స్ట్ వాట్సాప్, నెక్స్ట్ మెసేజెస్, అవన్నీ అప్లికేషన్స్. నెక్స్ట్ వాట్సాప్ అనేది ఒక అప్లికేషన్. ఓకేనా, ఇవన్నీ మన అప్లికేషన్ హ్యావ్ టు డెవలప్. ఓకేనా, అంటే ఇంటరాక్ట్ విత్ ద యూజర్ అండ్ డిపెండింగ్ మన డేటా, మనం సప్లై చేసే డేటా మీద బేస్ అయ్యే ఉంటుంది అది. నెక్స్ట్ డిజైర్డ్ యాక్షన్స్ అంటే మనం వాట్సాప్ ఓపెన్ చేయడం, మెసేజ్ చేయడం. So you have to receive the message or you send the messages. That here the user interface controls plays a major role. User interface controls means our you have to play the major role in getting the feedback from the user. Okay, next these are application components, one of the one combined together. This component combined ayini anukondi, you have to offer the brilliant Android application. This information regarding these all application components, it is provided in the one of the file. That file is called the manifest file. It is Android manifest.xml, which is the Android manifest.xml. This file it will help in understanding the use of each and every application component and how do they interact with each other. And Android provides 4 important components. Here Android provides the 4 important components to build any Android applications. These are the 4 important components to build any Android application. First one activities, next one services, next one intent and broadcast receivers, next one content providers. Here First one activities, next one services, next one intent and broadcast receivers, next one content providers. These are the four important components to build the Android application. This is the figure: activities, services, intent and broadcast receivers, next one content providers, widgets and notifications. You are getting some of the notifications. Next activity. First one is activities. Here first one activity. Here activities are said to be the presentation layer of our applications. Activities are said to be a presentation layer of our applications. Here the activity, it is a first stepping stone to build the Android user application. Here activities are said to be the presentation layer of our applications. Next, here this activity, it is a first stone in building the Android user application. Here the UI means user interface of our application is built around one or more extensions of the activity class. Here user interface, the user interface of our application is built around one or more extensions of the activity class. Here next point is an activity is in Android is like our computer welcome screen, which presents the single user display. An activity class, there are more extensions of the activity class. Here in this an activity in Android is like our computer welcome screen, which represents single user display. An activity in Android is like our computer welcome screen, which presents the single user display. Next, in other words, activity in Android represents the single screen with a user interface. సింగిల్ స్క్రీనే కదా మనకు కనపడుతుందమ్మా. కంప్యూటర్లో కూడా వెల్కమ్ స్క్రీన్ కూడా ఒక స్క్రీనే మీన్స్ సింగిల్ స్క్రీనే డిస్ప్లే అవుతుంది. దట్ ఈస్ ద యాక్టివిటీ హియర్. నెక్స్ట్ వీ కెన్ అండర్స్టాండ్ యాక్టివిటీ ఇన్ టర్మ్స్ ఆఫ్ ది వెబ్ అప్లికేషన్స్. You can understand this activity in terms of web applications also. Here for example, here we creates number of web pages to build some web application. We creates number of web pages మనం create, we have to build the complete web application. Similarly, on the other hand, in Android application also, it consists of the several activities to run as the complete applications. For example, for here we can understand activity in terms of web applications also. But for example, we create the number of web pages to build complete web application. The web application develop cheyali ante have to create number of web pages. And similarly, in Android applications also, we are having several activities to run as the complete application. Here there is one main activity, all other activities are child activities. Here there is only one main activity, all other activities are called child activities. There is a stack, that is stack called back stack. There is one main activity, all other activities are called child activities. There is a stack called back stack. Here whenever there is a new window is started, previous activity is pushed to the back stack and it is stopped until the new activity is done. Means what is in the stack called back stack means here whenever there is a new window is started, previous activity is pushed to the back stack. And it is stopped until the new activity is done. Here next, a back key on our device is pressed, new activity is popped. That is called the activities. Here next type is services. Here these are like invisible workers of our app. These are like invisible workers of our app. these components run at backend. These components run at backend and updating our data sources and activities, triggering notifications, and also broadcast intents. They also perform some tasks when applications are not active here. Here these are like invisible workers of our app. These are like invisible workers of our app, but these components run at backend and updating our data sources and activities, triggering notification, and also broadcast intents. Here they also perform some tasks when applications are not active. When applications some of the not active on the time, they have to perform some tasks like that. Here example, here not active. Here next point is this component, it is responsible for handling the time taking operations. It generally runs in the background of the OS, means operating system. Here it is not active. They will perform some tasks when applications are not active. On that time, this component is responsible for handling the time taking operations, which generally runs in the background of the OS, means it is in the case of Android. This is the example. This is some of the simple example here. The service component is that when you play music on your mobile phone, you will able to use these applications also, those other applications also. Here simple example, here the service component is that when you play music on our mobile phone, on the time you will be able to use other applications also, other applications కూడా మనం యూస్ చేసుకోవచ్చు మ్యూజిక్ మనం ప్లే చేసేటప్పుడు. దట్ ఈస్ వన్ ఆఫ్ ది సర్వీస్ కాంపోనెంట్. దిస్ ఆర్ ది ఎగ్జాంపుల్ హియర్. నెక్స్ట్, here in this service we take two forms. In this service we take two forms. First one started, next one bound. First one started, second one bound. First one started. Started means after a service starts, it can run indefinitely. And usually perform single operation only. After a service starts, it can run indefinitely and it is usually performs single operation. Here no result is returned to user. Here no result is returned to the user. That is the started. For example, you have to upload a file. After the task is completed, it should terminate itself. You have to upload a file upload చేయాలనుకుంటున్నారు. ఫైల్ అప్లోడ్ చేయాలనుకుంటే దట్ ఆ టాస్క్ కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత it should terminate అయిపోతుంది. It should terminate itself. Means here after service starts, it can run indefinitely and usually perform single operation only. No result is returned to user. Means for example, for started example, you have to upload any file here. After the task is completed, it should terminate itself. That is the started. That is one of the service. These are the two. First form is one of the form by using the services. And second form is bound. In this case, a component is bound to a service, so a particular task can be completed. This type of service provides a client server like interface. In this case, a component is bound to a service so that a particular task can be completed. Here this type of service provides a client server like interface. Here in this request can be sent, receive request and return result to the user. Here inter-process communication is achieved through this service. In this case, a component is bound to the service so that a particular task can be completed. Here this type of service provides a client server like interface. This type of service provides the client server, means you have to send a request and you have to receive a request and you have to get the result from the user. Means that the process is called inter-process communication is achieved through this service. Inter-process communication is achieved through this service. This is about the service, second component. Next component is intents and broadcast receivers. Means here Android intent is the message, and Android intent is the message that is passed between the components, such as activities, content providers, broadcast receivers, services, etc. Means here Android intent is the message that is passed between the components such as activities, content providers, broadcast receivers and services, etc. Here in this, generally have to use the start activity method to invoke the this activity, broadcast receivers, etc. It is generally used with the start activity method. Have to invoke this activity, broadcast receivers also. Here it binds the individual components to each other. Here next point is broadcast receivers simply respond to the broadcast messages from other applications or from the system itself. Here broadcast receivers simply respond to the broadcast messages from other applications or from the system itself. Here these messages are sometimes called as the events or intents. For example, applications can also initiate the broadcast to other applications. Have to know that some data has been downloaded to the device and available for them to use. Applications can also initiate broadcast to their other applications. Have to know that some data has been downloaded to the device and is available for them to use. Here, so this is the broadcast receiver will intercept the communication and will the appropriate action here. This another example is when your device boots up. Boots up or switched on that time the system is generated a broadcast to all apps. Here that is another example. Here there should be a procedure to when we can receive their broadcasts. We can have some procedure here. These receptors are called as the broadcast receivers. These receptors are called the broadcast receivers. Here there are two types of broadcast. These receptors are called as the broadcast receivers. There are two types of broadcast here. First one, normal broadcast. Second one is the ordered broadcast. First one is the normal broadcast. Next one is the ordered broadcast. Here, first one, normal broadcast. Here these are the asynchronous in nature. Many receivers can be activated at the same time. But which does not have any defined order. But they are very efficient. Here in normal broadcast, these are the asynchronous in nature. Many receivers can be activated at the same time, but which does not have any defined order, but they are very efficient. Next one, ordered broadcast. Ordered broadcast means they are the synchronous in nature. They are synchronous in nature. Here broadcast received by one receiver passes into the another receivers. Here broadcasts are delivered to receiver on one to one, and either here the receiver will pass result to another receiver. It may completely or destroy the broadcast. Here normal broadcast and ordered broadcast. These are the two types of broadcast. Here receptors. Here for example, already we take example here. When your device boots up or switched on, the system generates a broadcast to all apps here. There should be a procedure, should do something, we can receive the broadcast. Next, here these receptors are called the broadcast receivers. There are two types of broadcast. Here first one is the normal broadcast, next one is the ordered broadcast. Here first one normal broadcast. Here these are the asynchronous in nature. Asynchronous means asynchronous ఏంటమ్మా? asynchronous and synchronous in nature. Asynchronous means asynchronous 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 అంటే ఏంటమ్మా? సేమా డిఫరెంటా?
సేమ్.
synchronous means
సింక్రోనస్ అంటే డిఫరెంట్, సింక్రోనస్ అంటే సేమ్.
synchronous అంటే సేమా డిఫరెంటా? కనెక్టింగ్ ఎట్ ది హియర్ synchronous
సేమ్
at the same time. Asynchronous means different. Here normal broadcast means send out అంటే బయటికి రావడం, broadcasting. ఓకేనా? Here these are receptors are called the broadcast receivers. These receptors are called the broadcast receivers. Here are the two, normal broadcast and ordered broadcast. These are asynchronous in normal broadcast. These are the asynchronous in nature, I mean different. But many receivers can be activated at the same time, but it does not have any defined order. That's why they are very efficient here. Ordered broadcast means there are asynchronous in nature, means it is different in nature. But in this broadcast, it is received by one receiver, passes to the other receiver. But broadcasts are delivered to the receiver one to one and sequential basis, one by one. Here receiver will pass the result to the another result. It is completely destroy the broadcast. That is next. This is the broadcast intents and broadcast receivers. Here intent is the message, and is the here intent meaning is message. Next component is content providers. Next one is content providers. It is used to manage and persist the application data. It is interact with the SQL database. SQL is structured query language database. Content providers. Here they are also responsible for the sharing the data, means beyond the application boundaries. Means it is used to manage, and the application data can also interact with SQL data, means structured query language. We are giving the some of the queries to the database, and that time you have to give the response. Here they are also responsible for sharing the data beyond the application boundaries. Here the content providers of a particular application can be configured to allow access from other applications, and content providers it exposed by other applications can also be configured. Here for example, we can read and write reminders or notes. Can read and write important reminders or notes in the database. It is in the application only. In the application only. Here with content next point, with the content providers we can save data in SQLite application, SQLite database. SQLite ఎక్కడ విన్నారు మీరు? అప్లికేషన్స్ అనే మనకి ఫస్ట్ యూనిట్లో అప్లికేషన్స్ ఫ్రేమ్వర్క్ అప్లికేషన్స్ ఆపరేషన్లో వచ్చి ఉంటుంది SQLite database and the web. Here with content providers we can save data in SQLite database on the web or any other storage location where application can easily access the data. This component it is useful in reading and writing private data also. Here this component is useful in reading and writing private data. This component is useful in reading and writing private data. Which component? Content providers data. This component is useful in reading and writing private data also. Here the how it is useful in reading and writing private data means this data, these content providers, we can save data in SQLite database on the web, any storage location. This application can easily access the data. That's why this component is useful in reading and writing private data. For example, we can read and write important reminders or notes in database, means within the application. These are the four components for you to develop the Android application develop చేయడానికి మనం ఈ 4 components అనేవి యూస్ చేస్తామమ్మా. నెక్స్ట్ వన్ ఈజ్ Android widgets and notifications. Next one is Android widgets and notifications. మనం ఫిగర్ చూసారు కదమ్మా, ఆ ఫిగర్లో ఆ 4 కాంపోనెంట్స్ గురించి నేర్చుకున్నాం. మిడిల్లో ఉంది Android widgets and notifications. Here what are the Android widgets and Android notifications here? Here Android app. Here Android app widgets are the small application views here. These are the Android app widgets are the small application views. Here these views can be embedded into other applications. These views can be embedded into other applications. Here they can receive updates on periodic basis. Here a widget is quick view of our app's functionality and data. This view is accessible from home screen of our device. చూడండి, మనం ఫోన్స్ యూస్ చేసేటప్పుడు హోమ్ స్క్రీన్ కనపడుతుంది. హోమ్ స్క్రీన్లో మనకి కాంటాక్ట్స్ కనిపిస్తుంది. నెక్స్ట్ వాట్సాప్, నెక్స్ట్ మెసేజ్, ఓకేనా, ఆ విడ్జెట్స్ అన్నీ మనకి కనపడుతూ ఉంటాయి. కానీ దే కెన్ రిసీవ్ అప్డేట్స్ ఆన్ పీరియాడిక్ బేసిస్ మీద మెసేజ్ అప్డేట్స్ అనేవి రిసీవ్ చేసుకుంటూ ఉంటాం. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఎ క్విక్ వ్యూ ఆఫ్ అవర్ యాప్స్ ఫంక్షనాలిటీ అండ్ డేటా, and this view is accessible from home screen of our device. Here now these widgets are following types. There are 4 types of widgets here. First one, informational widget. Second one is collection widget. Next, third one is control widgets. Next one is hybrid widget. These are the 4 types of widgets. First one is informational widget, next one is collection widget, next one is control widget, next one is hybrid widget. These are the 4 types of widgets. Next, types of widgets like this: informational, collection, control and hybrid. These are the types of widgets. Next, first one informational widget. Here these Android widgets are going to display that only the information to the user. These Android widgets are going to display only that information to the user. It is important and dynamic in nature. Here for example, the information displayed on our home screen saying time and weather condition is the like that. Information widget means is going to display only that information to user. It is important and dynamic in nature. Dynamic means change అవుతూ ఉంటాయి, అవి మాత్రం డిస్ప్లే అవుతుంది ఇక్కడ. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, this information displayed in our home screen saying time and weather condition, next saying time, that is the information widget here. Next one, collection widgets. Here these Android widgets scroll in top to down direction, collection of information of the same type, and then enabling user to open any one of them here. Any one of them means these Android widgets scroll in top to down direction of this collection of information of the same type, means here have to enabling user to open any one of them here, to full detail. Example, email app will display all the mails in our inbox and then allow to open any one of them here. Email app, for example, email app, that is the collection widgets. Is there any collection of information In this, you have to enabling the user to open any one of them to the full detail. That is the second widget. Next third widget is control widget. Next third one is control widget. Here you have to display the most frequently used functionalities. Here display the most frequently used functionalities by which user want to the control from home screen. For example, here video app can pause video. In that video app you can pause, play, stop and go to previous track and move to next track. It is the example of the control widgets. Means how to display the most frequently used the functionalities by the user but you want to control from home screen. Home screen నుంచి మనం కంట్రోల్ చేసుకుంటూ ఉండొచ్చు. For example, here video app. In that video app you can pause, next you can play, stop. This you have to go the previous track and move to next track is the example of the control widget. Next one is the hybrid widget. Next one is the hybrid widget. These Android widgets combine features of all above 3. ఈ 3 combined అయిపోయింది. These Android widgets combined features of all above 3. ఈ 3 widgets features అనేవి all combined అయిపోయి యూజింగ్ చేసేదే మనకి hybrid widget అంటాం. hybrid widget అంటాం. ఓకేనా? These about this type of 4 Android widgets. And next one is notifications. Yeah, next one is notifications. First one, notifications. Here it's the name says keeps the user aware of events. For example, news channels, Facebook, WhatsApp. These are the notifications. Notifications display అవుతుంటాయి కదమ్మా. అప్ టు డేట్గా మనకి న్యూస్ ఛానల్స్ అని యాప్ పెట్టుకున్నాం అనుకోండి, దాంట్లో ఏమైనా ఏం న్యూస్ వచ్చా అవి మనకి నోటిఫికేషన్ లాగా డిస్ప్లే అవుతూ ఉంటాయి. Here the name says keeps the user aware of events going on. The name says keeps the user aware of events going on. Next one is user is kept informed like any news channels. For example, every one of us know about the Facebook or WhatsApp. Facebook యూస్ చేస్తుంటారు. నోటిఫికేషన్స్ ఏమన్నా వస్తే మన డిస్ప్లే అవుతుంటాయి. నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్ నౌ నోటిఫికేషన్ సిస్టమ్ ఆఫ్ యాప్ ఇట్ ఈస్ రెస్పాన్సిబుల్ ఫర్ ఇన్ఫార్మింగ్ అబౌట్ అవర్ న్యూ ఫ్రెండ్ రిక్వెస్ట్, ద చాట్ రిక్వెస్ట్ ఆర్ displaying the message, say like that, or XYZ etc. like that. Here these application components include fragments, views, layouts, intents, resources and manifest also. Here all of these components are used for the creation of the above components. Here all of these components are used for the creation of this components, for creation of below components. Here below or above components. All of these components are used for the creation of above components. Notifications. The name says keeps the user aware of events going on. Next, user is kept informed like any news channels. And for example, every one of us know about Facebook or WhatsApp. Next, these are the application components. Description. Fragments. First one is fragments. Fragments means you have to represent the fragments of user activity in the activity component. It represents the fragments of a user interface in the activity component. There are 4 types of components we are having. What are the 4 types of components? Activity, services, intents and broadcast receivers. Next last one is content providers. Here fragments, it represents the fragments of a user interface in the activity component. Next, views, it includes the user interface elements like buttons, drop down, list etc. Next, layouts means it controls the screen format based on the different hierarchies of views. Take care of the appearance of views on the screen. Layouts. Next, intents, it wires the messages of different components together. Next, resources, here it includes external elements like drawable or editable pictures and strings, constants like that. What the resources means? It includes external elements like drawable or editable pictures, strings and constraints. This is the one of the component, application component. Next, manifest. Manifest means you have to carry the information regarding the applications, configuring file here. Next, carries the information regarding the applications and configuration file. After this, the first topic is completed. In this topic we learn about the 4 components and about 4 types of widgets and notifications. Next topic is the understanding the utility of Android API. Understanding the utility of Android API. API, it is the name of the application programming interface. It is the application programming interface. It is a Android API gurinchi. What is it here? Understanding the utility of the Android API. Next, API is the API gurinchi నేర్చుకుంటాం ఇక్కడ. Android API, what is the use of the Android API here? Next, here Android API. API, it is the acronym, means abbreviation for application programming interface. It is a software intermediary that allows 2 applications to talk each other. 2 applications ni talk cheyadaniki and how to interact. It is software application programming interface. It is a one of the software. What for we are using this software means it allows the 2 applications to talk to each other. 2 applications to talk to each other. That's why it is here. That's why we are using this software here. Here each time we use an application, we are using API. Here each time I can use this application, we are using the API. Here when you use this application on our mobile phone, the application connects to the internet and sends data to the server. When you use this application on your mobile phone, the application connects to the internet. The application connects to the internet and sends data to a server. Here this server retrieves the data and interprets it and performs the necessary actions and sends it back to our phone. Next, the application then it interprets and data presents with the information, which information want in readable way. This is what an API. Here all this happens like via API only. Here in computer programming, an application programming interface is a set of subroutine definitions, protocols and tools for building an application here. Next, in this API specifies how software components should interact with the APIs. How software components should interact. That's why we are using the API specifies like this. And next one, APIs are used when programming graphical user interface components. APIs are used when programming in the graphical user interface components. Here it is a clearly defined methods of the communication between the various components. It is clearly defined by some of the methods communication between the various components. Here this good API it makes to develop a computer program by providing some of the building blocks here. It is put together by the programmer. In computer programming, application programming interface. API means application programming interface. It is easier to develop a computer program by providing some of the blocks here which are then put together by the programmer. Next one is, in this API level is an integer value that uniquely identifies the framework. In this API, it is offered version of the Android platform. Here these are the platforms. Here the Android platform provides a framework API that applications can use to interact with the underlying Android system. Here the framework API consists of like this. These are the Android platform provides a framework API that applications can use to interact with the underlying Android system. Here this framework API consists of this. Here a core set of packages and classes. Next, a set of XML elements and attributes for declaring a manifest file. Next, a set of XML elements and attributes for declaring the async resources. Next, a set of intents. And next one is the set of permissions that applications can request. Here each successive version of the Android platform can include the updates of the Android application framework. Here in this API that it delivers, is there any updates of the Android application framework API, it delivers. Here the framework API is specified through an integer that called as the API level. Here the framework API is specified through an integer called the API level, and each Android platform version supports exactly one API only. Here in this initial release of the Android platform provided by the API level 1 means it is incremented by the API levels 1, 2 like that. Here is there any updates to the framework API designed to that new API remains compatible with earlier versions of the API. Here the framework API earlier versions of the API. Here is there any most changes in the API or to introduce new replacement functionalities in this. Here next, as the parts of the API are upgraded, the older replaced parts are but not removed. Here so that existing applications can still use them, but in a very small number of cases, and parts of the API may be modified or removed here. Modify cheskochu, remove cheskochu by using the API framework. Here the API framework that an Android platform delivers is specified by using the integer that is called the API level. Here each Android platform version supports exactly one API level only. Here support is implicit for all earlier. Here API levels down to API level 1. This initial release of the Android platform provided API level 1, and subsequent releases incremented the API level. Here next one is the uses of API level in Android. What is the uses of API level in Android? Here the API level identifiers is a key role. First use is it lets the Android platform describe the maximum framework, and it lets application describe the framework API it revision that they require. ఏమైనా మనకి రిక్వైర్ కావాలంటే అప్లికేషన్స్ డిస్క్రైబ్ చేస్తున్నామా. నెక్స్ట్ it lets the system negotiate the installation of applications of the user device. It is incompatible applications are not installed. Next one, each Android platform version stores its API level identifier internally in the Android system itself. Each Android platform version stores its API level identifier internally in the Android system itself. It is a key role by ensuring it is a key role for the users and application developers. Means API level, it is a API level identifier, means application programming interface level. This what are the uses of API level in Android? Describes the framework API revision that they require here. The system negotiate the installation of applications on user device. That version it is incompatible. That version is incompatible. On that time applications are not installed here. Here each Android platform version stores its API level identifier internally the Android system itself. These are the uses of API level in Android. Okay, అందరికి అర్థమైందా? హలో
Yes, ma'am.
ఇంకా 2 టాపిక్స్ కంప్లీట్ అయినాయమ్మా.